All right, what a day in the World Cup. And we're only just getting started, really and truly. I'm Alexis Nunes here with Stuart Robson. What a result we just saw for Mexico, defeating the world champions Germany by one brilliant goal from Irving Lozano. But before we get there, let's just... Happy Father's Day to Stuart.
Thank you very much.
And happy Father's Day to all the daddies out there. I'm sure the Mexican daddies are celebrating, and Stuart, the German daddies, including my great orthodontist, Dr. Beck, back in Jamaica, is probably wondering what on earth just happened to my team. Now, again, we spoke
what on
about...
earth you're talking about them.
Let's talk about Germany first, and because they are the world champions. And we did just predict this result the other day. Both of us went for Germany. I was flirting with going for Mexico, even though we knew all the problems they had. You admitted Germany had problems going into this as well, but we sort of expected them to get things together. So how do we explain what happened today?
What you saw was, in the first half, Germany kept the ball quite well. They looked to attack quite well. They had good width in their play. They were trying to get their fullbacks high up the field. The problem they had is that Mexico, when they won the ball, had too much space to play in. Carlos Vela, early on in the game, picked up the ball in acres of space, ran with the wind, didn't quite pick out the right pass. I think he was fouled in the end by Hummels, who came out and tried to get a block in. But too many times, Kimmich was caught up the field. So it left wide open spaces for Mexico to counter-attack it. And they counter-attacked really well, at pace. They played at a tempo that Germany couldn't cope with at times. Hummels looked slow. The two midfield players, Khedira isn't the athlete that he once was. And you look at Toni Kroos, as good a footballer he is, a great passer, he's won the Champions League with Real Madrid numerous times, he's not a good defensive player. He can't recover when people run past him. And that was on show and evident today when Mexico were playing at such a high speed on the counter-attack.
Now, well, just watching the game, I know, and of course following it as well on Twitter, one of our good colleagues, Raphael Honigstein, you know, he probably wouldn't be happy with this result. And he pointed out that the German midfielders, he felt, were leaving too much space in between them and the defence. Did you notice that? Yes,
the space was too wide for Mexico to counter-attack in. Mesut Ozil, you know, Mexico had three players because Carlos Vela was coming back and making the third midfield player. And Germany only had two in there because Mesut Ozil was trying to press higher up the field. He was joining Timo Werner, trying to press higher up the field. At times, Müller tried to come back and help those midfield players, but it left it too wide open. And they were trying to press the ball high up the field, and it left Carlos Vela in oceans of space. Hummels started to come to try and deal with Vela, and then that left space in behind. But defensively, Germany were all over the place. Their recovery runs weren't good enough. When they lost possession, they were too slow to react. And that is when the game is won or lost, when the ball changes hands. Mexico were better when the ball changed hands.
Well, when Mexico, of course, went into halftime with that 1-0 lead, and when they came back after the break, a lot of people started criticizing Joachim Löw, saying that it's a bit bold but stupid that he made no changes. Were you surprised that he made no changes going into the second half?
He didn't make any changes in personnel. What he did, he made changes in terms of the way the team were playing. He got Kimmich even higher up the field. He got Plattenhardt even higher up the field. He tried to get more control in the game. He left himself vulnerable to the counter. If Mexico had been more thorough and precise in their finishing in the second half, they could have won the game by 3 or 4 goals. And you have to say, Mexico, in the last 20 minutes, even though Germany had nearly all their players in attack, they were getting crosses into the box, they were trying to pass balls into that penalty box, Mexico defended it really well, either by last-ditch tackles or their positional play.
All right, well, we'll bring up this little stat that no team has lost their opening match and gone on to win the World Cup since Spain did it in 2010.
Well, it's only one World Cup.
Well, it's only been one World Cup, but still, panic is going to set in now. So how do Germany tackle this? How does Joachim Löw settle his men who are quite experienced, especially at this level? Of course, they have won it, but now is when those nerves, and just take me through a player's perspective. What are they thinking now going into the rest of the games?
Well, there'll be a slight bit of panic because they now have to win the next game. They've got to get a good result in that next game. They can't afford to lose the game. When Spain were the world champions last time, they lost their first game to the Dutch and then lost their second game, and suddenly they're out the tournament. So when they're playing the third game, Germany have to get themselves ready, composed, and Joachim Löw has to get the team selection right, and they've got to go and win that next game. If he doesn't get his team selection right, and he doesn't put more athleticism into the side, he's going to have a problem. And if he's not going to play with athleticism, then they need to be more conservative. They need to be able to keep the ball. He wants the game to be played at their pace. They need to keep possession, make the opposition drop deeper and deeper, and then pick their passes, and then make sure that they get themselves on the score sheet.
Do you think they sort of underestimated Mexico going into this?
I don't think they underestimated Mexico. I think they just didn't defend well all around the field, and that was a major, major problem for them.
All right, well, we've got some questions coming in, and Someone's asking now, the Cruz-Khedira partnership in question.
Absolutely. I've seen Khedira play for Juventus on many occasions over the last couple of years. Now, years ago, he used to be a very good athlete. He could get box to box, he'd make forward runs, he was dynamic. I don't think he's that player anymore.
Yeah.
And he's not a great passer. So I'm always a little bit worried why people rate him so highly. I can't see what he's really doing for the team. He's not dynamic, he's not a great passer of the ball. He'll arrive in the box occasionally at the right time, as he did today. He nearly got on the end of a cross. But if you're playing Kroos as the playmaker, the one who's going to get on the ball and dictate the pace of the game, you need somebody alongside him who's going to do the dirty work. You know, imagine Kroos playing with Conte from France. That would be the ideal combination. At the moment, Germany haven't got that player.
All right, well, I knew this question was going to come eventually because I saw some memes coming out after Mexico scored the first goal. And we know that somewhere, somehow, Sané is probably having a little chuckle on vacation somewhere. So, Stu, how bad did Germany miss him? Would he have made a difference, at least in this result?
The game was an open game. Now, one player that's proved this season for Manchester City that when it's an open game, he can run past people with the ball, he'll make good decisions when to cut it back, when to cross it in behind the defenders, when to go past his man, when to play 1-2s. It's been Leroy Sané. And Draxler, unfortunately, I thought was poor today. He didn't really go past anyone. He didn't pick out the right pass. He didn't affect the game. And I thought he was lucky to stay on the field. When they were making the changes, he was one of the players that stayed on the field.
All right, so I have to ask now your prediction about Germany. Do you still have them getting out of the group and going all the way that many still expect them to go? Because as of now, I would still think they're favourites.
I still think they'll get out the group. I think they'll win the next two games. They're going to have to play much better than they did today. They're going to have to defend much better than they did today. But I think they will win the next two games. They will go further in the tournament. But I'm not sure how much further, because you cannot play attacking football and be so vulnerable to the counter-attack as they were today.
All right, well, now let's talk about the winners today, Mexico, El Tricolor, because we noticed that you guys, of course, spoke to them at length, along with our other colleagues, Sebastian Salazar and Hercules Gomez, and they were just absolutely, well, Sebi, of course, was rightfully, I would say, nervous. As a Mexican fan, he was quite nervous. Herc, not so much, but nobody really expected Mexico to come out with this one. And given the fact that Juan Carlos Osorio still hadn't found his starting 11, do you think he's found it now?
Yes, for this particular game, it was the right setup. I thought the wide players did enough. They made lots of forward runs. Lyon had lots of chances as well, and obviously the goal was a good one from Lozano on the other side, which was an excellent finish up against Mesut Ozil, of all people, when it was the 1v1 situation. I'm not a great fan of Chicharito. I think too often he gives the ball away. He's not good with his back to goal. But today, his set-up play was better than his actual finishing. The thing he's renowned for is his finishing. He had 2 or 3 chances, and he didn't take them. But his set-up play, playing it back, spinning in behind, his movement was very, very good, and it caused Hummels all sorts of problems. So that was right. Carlos Vela, did he do enough in that number 10 role? Probably not. I think that's why he was taken off. I think he's just slightly off the pace. He had a couple of runs early on. And the two holding midfield players did a really good job. The fullbacks didn't venture too far forward. And I thought Moreno, once again, was excellent when balls came into the box. He defended really well. For somebody that's not that tall, he's a very good header of the ball. Well,
it was absolutely brilliant to see the way Mexico started, just absolutely going after them and attacking. Do you see Juan Carlos Osorio tinkering with this lineup to suit possibly how the next group games will go?
I think what he'll have to do, this may have taken a lot out of Mexico in terms of energy-wise. He'll have to assess the players and say, you know, are they fully fit for the next game? Can I get the same sort of dynamism from them in the next match? If they have a good enough rest, if they can recover well, they haven't got too many knocks, I would go with the same side, because that side defended well when they had to in their own penalty box and in their own third of the field, and then counter-attack with pace. And there was lots of pace in the side. That was the difference between the two sides, in the athleticism of Mexico in the first half compared to the sluggish pace of Germany.
So do you think Mexico should have won by a couple more goals, at least maybe 2 more?
They weren't clinical enough when they got into the top third.
Will that come back and bite them in the butt, do you think?
Not in this game, it didn't.
Well, not in this game. This is definitely their toughest game.
And
but if they want to get out of the group, that's something that they're definitely going to have to
they're going to have to
adjust.
But I think Chicharito, given the same chances again, would take them. Lyon, I think, would do likewise. And there was one ball late on in the game when they had a 2v1 and Chicharito doesn't quite play it to Carlos Vela. If they're more clinical, they would have won the game by a greater margin. For all Germany's possession, I haven't seen the stats in terms of possession. Germany would probably have dominated possession, but
Yes.
the bigger chances, even though Germany had all the play in the last 20, the bigger chances came to Mexico.
Well, you should say that because I did see an interesting stat that Mexico had 10 shots in the first half, and that's the most that Germany has ever faced since 1994 against South Korea. So Mexico definitely with an interesting style of play. Now, they hadn't lost an opener since 1994 either, so that's where I have to ask your predictions now for Mexico, because all the fans are getting excited. My good flatmate, Tony Collins, you know, she's already asked me, ask Stu how far Mexico can go now.
Into it, Tony Collins.
She's interestingly in Miami watching at a bar, a German bar, but she's like, she saw my tweet where I was asking for questions, and she's like, ask Stu how far Mexico can go now. Can we win? Can we win? So Stu, what do you think? Because everyone's going to get excited now, but we do have to be realistic. So what are you foreseeing for El Tri?
I think they will definitely go through now. I always had them going through. I had them going through in second place. I think they could win the group now, which would give them, I'm not sure, a slightly easier round team in the last 16, so we would believe. But it's always been the problem for Mexico. Can they get beyond 16, round of 16? This was a great game for them, but I still think they've got problems. I don't think they play as well as they did today. They've got to make sure that all the players that were dynamic today show the same sort of form in the next couple of games.
Well, you know what they say, a little bit of confidence goes a long way, right, Stu?
Oh, Osorio will be very confident now. All the stick he's been getting.
You think they won the World Cup? We saw Chicharito crying after this. Juan Carlos Osorio had some tears in his eyes too.
And he's got to manage that.
Yeah.
You know, you can't jump around and celebrate as if you won the World Cup. This is just one game, albeit against the world champions, the current world champions, albeit with a very good performance. But you can't start celebrating yet. They should take that and say, OK, we've now got to go on to the next game. And when they do well in that one, now we've got to take it on to the next game. They haven't always been in this position. They've now got to manage that sort of success that they've had today. OK,
so for Mexico, going ahead, you'd like to see them more with that killer instinct in terms of finishing?
Yes. I mean, I'm sure they won't create so many chances. There won't be another team they play that's going to be so open as Germany were. But they could have killed Germany off in that first half. I think there was Lozano had a chance early on and didn't take it. Chicharito could have had a shot with his left foot and for some reason didn't take it. He normally would shoot on sight. They had Lyon had 2 or 3 opportunities. Chicharito's passed the Vela when they had a 2v1 against Boateng, I think it was. They didn't take that. So there was lots of chances to really kill off Germany. But in the end, they didn't need it. They won the game.
Indeed. And as for Germany, looks like you've got a whole long list of stuff that they need to address. We're going to leave that up to Joachim Löw, though. But thank you so much, Stuart Robson. This was fun.
It was absolute pleasure.
This was good. Facebook Live. Stu's not really big on social media, but we're going to fix that. I promise you.
What is social media?
This, Facebook Live. And we're going to be doing plenty more of these throughout the World Cup. And make sure to stay tuned to everything from the World Cup all tournament long right here at ESPN FC. Catch the show later as well on ESPN+.